So what is a noodle ring and what do you do with it? Well, hang on and I will tell you all about this 1940s and 1950s retro, long lost recipe. Be right back. And we're back. So the noodle ring, what is it? Well, essentially it's an edible bowl. And it was so popular in the 1940s and the 1950s, and then it went away. I don't know if people just didn't want to take the time to make it anymore, and it's really, really easy, or it just fell out of favor. But essentially, what a noodle ring is a ring of noodles. And then inside, you put your main dish. Things that were really popular in the day, cream chicken, meatballs, vegetables, but we'll get to more of that in a minute. First, let's talk about this noodle ring. So actually, the noodle ring, or any kind of vessel made of noodles, is centuries old. And people have been making it for a long time, but we're not going to talk about that. In the around 1936, it showed up in a Pennsylvania Dutch cookbook. And from there, a few people went, hey, nice idea. So other people started picking it up. And before you knew it, the American housewife fell in love with this thing. Why? It was easy. It was economical. It was very pretty, very fancy, and at least they thought so at the time. And you can serve it to company, and company would go, oh, look at that! And the housewife would be very proud of herself. And it's actually really cool. It's kind of like, walls made of noodles, and then you kind of serve it with the entree, and you got kind of a one-stop shop. Well, I'd probably add a salad. But anyway, let's start with talking about the noodle ring and how do you make it. So this is greased, so that's why it's yellow. Grease your pan always. This is a noodle ring pan. Here, I'll show you. There, that's your noodle ring pan. And it's really, you can make cakes in it, but this is my noodle ring pan. A lot of people back in the day used bundt cake pans, but let me show you. But when you turn it upside down, I'm not going to turn this one because it's greased, but as you can see, the noodle ring has a lot more room for stuff in the middle. And the bundt pan, well, you just don't have as much room. So I prefer the noodle ring pan, but you can always use the bundt pan. And by the way, if you do want a noodle ring pan, I'm going to put in the description as well the link where you can get this. So anyway, how do we make a noodle ring? It's so easy, it's ridiculous. So the first thing you do is you want to take 3 eggs. And here we have our 3 eggs. And we're going to just go ahead and put them in a bowl. And then you want to mix them around. Just a light whisk for just a second. And look at those happy eggs. All right, that's all we need. Now to that, you're going to add everything else. So the first thing we have is we're going to add our noodles. This is 1 pound. Oh, I love to show you stuff. This is 1 pound of, can you see that back there? 1 pound of egg noodles. You can use any noodles you like. I've seen it with spaghetti. I've seen it with, the fettuccine. I've seen it with all kinds of noodles, but I like egg noodles because they're a little bit softer and they kind of mold to the ring mold better. And also it also depends on what you're making. If you're going to put spaghetti sauce and meatballs in the center, use pasta. But I don't know. We're just kind of going to go 1950s today. And that would be egg noodles. So, in go the egg noodles. You know what? These noodles are warming up the eggs a little bit, so I'm going to start with the milk. 1 cup of milk. We've got a choice here. We can do 1 cup of milk, and back in the day it was whole milk. We use whole milk. Or you can use 3/4 cup of evaporated milk along with 1/4 cup of water. And essentially you have milk because evaporated milk is just condensed down, so you're just kind of rehydrating it. So either one. The evaporated milk recipe came from the Carnation cookbook from 1945 when they first introduced their evaporated milk. They had a whole cookbook dedicated to recipes you can make with their evaporated milk. And that's where this came from. And we're gonna mix that around. And now we're gonna add a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper and a tablespoon of Worcestershire. And then we've got 2 tablespoons of ketchup. I gotta be honest, in the recipe you can't really taste the Worcestershire and you can't really taste the ketchup. But they probably add a little certain something and you miss them if they were gone. Like I said, this is a really bland recipe. But it's super good and super impressive and super effective. So now we're gonna put our noodles in. Always start with your noodles. Don't do what I did before. I'm sorry. Always end with your noodles. Don't do what I did before. You want the eggs and everything to kind of mix together, and you don't want the eggs to cook. Okay, got our noodles in there. And then we're going to add one more thing once this is all incorporated, but you really want to make sure that it's incorporated well so it will bake well. Because we're going to stick this thing in a 350-degree oven for 45 minutes. But not just yet. Ooh, I can actually smell the ketchup. Maybe this one will be different. You never know. And you know what? As always, this is cooking. This isn't baking, so it's not a science. So if you really want more of a pronounced Worcestershire flavor or more of a pronounced ketchup flavor, or both, then add more. You're allowed. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next big question. The recipe calls for 1 cup of shredded cheese. They never specified what kind of cheese, so I did some experimenting for you. And I decided to go with a white cheddar. You want something, use what you like. You can use pepper jack, you can use Monterey Jack, you can use Havarti, truffle cheese would probably be amazing in here. The only thing you really want is something that will melt. So Parmesan, feta, you know, probably not, they would taste good, but you really want to melt because that's a lot of your binding agent to hold these noodles together. So I've got white cheddar because I just thought, why not? So in goes the white cheddar. And you want to mix that all up super, super good. And then we're going to talk about our ring mold. And I know I said grease it, but I'm going to say it again. Definitely grease your ring mold because you just want it to come out in such a pretty little ring. You don't want any reason for this not to be. So I've got this well sprayed with butter spray. So I'm going to move this over for a second. And in comes my pan. You want to cook this in a pan with a little bit of water on the bottom. And what it does is just kind of create some steam in the oven and your noodles won't super dry out. A little kitchen hack for you. After I finish boiling the noodles, I pour some of the pasta water right in the pan and then I just don't have to boil extra water because it's already hot and ready to go. So actually, we're going to do this. We are going to fill our noodle ring right now. And you can even put it over the top, and I even grease the top because it's just going to make cleanup a lot nicer for you. So we're just packing in these noodles. Yes, they'll all fit. If you have a little stragglers that don't fit, don't worry about it. Not everybody needs to go in the pool. But as you can see, you're going to have this adorable looking noodle ring. Uh-oh. Noodles are going everywhere. Okay, I think that's enough. So this is 1 16-ounce bag of egg noodles. A little bit more. Okay. So you might have a little extra. We're fine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take, we're going to move this over, and we're going to take our water bath, our pan with the pasta water, whatever water you want, just make sure it's hot. And we're going to put our noodle ring right in the center. Okay. Now we're going to throw this in a 350 oven for 45 minutes. And this isn't like a cake, you don't need to test it, just give it a solid 45 minutes and it'll be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and bake my noodle ring. I'm going to come back, we're going to unmold it, we're going to see some options of what to do with it, and I will tell you all about National Noodle Ring Day. Yes, there is one. We'll be back. And we're back and our noodle ring is done. Take a look. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's a little brown on top. It's cooked through. The eggs and the cheese are binding it all together. And what I normally do is I take the back end of a knife and just kind of make my way around the noodle ring just to make sure it's going to release. And we want to get the inside as well. And I don't know, do a little sawing motion so you're not going to pull the noodles, because that would make for a good noodle ring. So now, there we go. Now we're going to unmold this thing. I have my beautiful serving platter and I'm putting it right into what I would serve it with. And let's do this. So we're going to put it upside down on the noodle mold. There we go. Happy little platter. Happy little noodle mold. Happy little ring. Okay. And then sometimes it takes a little maneuvering, but we've done this flipping thing a few times now, so we're pretty good at it. Except it's stuck. Hold on. This is like almost like live TV madness. Okay. Now, I'm gonna flip it upside down. And we're gonna fix our little cover, because this is just so 1940s, this beautiful pattern, that I just had to get it. Okay. Now, take the noodle mold off, and look at that. How beautiful is that? This is your classic noodle ring. I know it's not the most exciting recipe that we've done, but it is a blank canvas. And it's a way to kind of learn history through food again, because people don't make noodle rings anymore. It's really hard to find current recipes of noodle rings. You need to go back to the 1940s. You need to go back to the 1950s. This is classic 1940s retro food history. It was in so many homes. It was, you know, like the husband brings home the boss for dinner. I know that doesn't happen anymore, but it was really a big thing in the 50s and the 40s. And this is a perfect thing to, you know, impress the boss. It's pretty, it's fancy, and it's a blank canvas, like I said. You can do whatever you want. Today, we're gonna put some vegetables in it, because it's also a lovely side dish. So, I've got some steamed broccoli here. That's all it is, plain old steamed broccoli. And I'm gonna fill my ring. And then we're gonna do something very 50s, very 40s. First, let's get all that broccoli in there. Okay. So a very, very big combination in the 50s was cherry tomatoes and steamed broccoli. Because look how cute that is. It's just a beautiful contrast. And when you go ahead and make your ring, and you have your broccoli, and you have this pretty little red against this pretty little green, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? This, ladies and gentlemen, is 1940 retro food history on a plate. And you can experience history through food, and it's fun. You can serve it like this, or you can drizzle maybe a little garlic butter on top of the vegetables. But the cheese and everything, all the other flavors in the noodle ring will definitely pick it up. Again, creamed chicken was huge, and it's delicious. Change up your pasta, put in meatballs. For a while, the Catholic Church was recommending noodle rings way back in the 40s and putting ground fish inside. I don't know if I'd do that, but apparently it's a great way to help Lent. Anyway, National Noodle Ring Day. National Noodle Ring Day is December 11th. And the crazy thing about this is there is no record of who started it, how it came about, or even why it's there. But it's there. So on December 11th, make yourself a noodle ring for the family. And you can, because I'm going to put the recipe right below in the description. Make this beautiful, fancy 1940s dish. Impress your family. Tell them about the history. Taste history. And just have a great time. But for now, enjoy your day. Give it a try. And always, history has never tasted so good.